Ready to go.
Okay, I call this meeting, this regular session of the mayor and council to be held on Tuesday, May 6th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at council chambers. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Juanetta Hill. Councilmember Joni Giacomino is excused. Councilmember Frank Davis.
Here.
Mayor Ken Budge is excused. Councilmember Leslie Johns.
Here.
Councilmember Mel Sweet.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Anna Klein.
Here.
City staff Stephen Pockins, City Manager. Ashley Coronado, City Clerk. Logan Dodd, Operations Manager. Tim Cox, Police Chief. Jim Richardson, Fire Chief. Joe Estes, City Attorney.
Okay, for the invocation, I'd like us to take a moment just to reflect on the good fortune that we have to live in this community where neighbors care about each other, look out for each other, and for the good fortunes that we have in our life. Join me for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have no proclamations or announcements tonight, and we have no call to the public, or no one signed up, I should say. So the next order of business is accounts payable, and I move that we pay accounts payable in the amount of $249,016.66. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for accounts payable. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have one.
Okay.
It's just a little bit out of whack, so I just need to know why. On page 13, APS, Arizona Public Service, we have a bill for $7,156. Just way up there, so.
Yes. That's the electric bill for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, so it comes. Is this normal? This
If I recall correctly, I think $7,000 might be kind of a light month, but I could be wrong.
You could be wrong. I haven't seen this. Anyway, okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Well, at least you agreed I could be wrong.
Yes.
Finally an agreement.
Yeah. You know, you could be wrong. I agree.
If I would have said it, you would have said, I know you would.
Well, I want to be nice today.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept accounts payable, subject to availability of funds. All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5 to unanimously. It's hard when people are out. Okay, next on the agenda is the consent agenda, and it's pretty lengthy. We have item A, approval of the minutes of the regular session of the mayor and council held on August 16th, 2022, and then B through I are approval of an application for an extension of premises/patio permit for the Electric Brewing Company on various dates. And then we have J, approval of a liquor license application for Taqueria Outlaw located at 78 Main Street. K, approval of a special event liquor license application submitted by Healthy Bisbee Inc. for an event to be held at 16 Erie Street on October 21st. And another one for L on Saturday, October 22nd by Healthy Bisbee. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the items as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, nobody wanted anything pulled for discussion. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we need roll call? Roll call.
Okay. Councilmember Hill? Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Johns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein?
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 3, we have discussion of possible approval of ordinance O-22-10, amending the city code, Article 6, adopting a new section 2.15, dogs at large prohibited, for the purpose of regulating at-large dogs within the city. And Mr. Pocken, oh, Mr. Estes.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein and council members, I welcome any questions that you may have. This is the second reading of the proposed ordinance, which essentially establishes a leash law in Bisbee for dogs. We have other ordinances on the books for animals at large. Needed something specific for dogs to allow animal control to be able to address issues when there are dogs running at large, and being able to enforce that and maintain safety in the city.
Okay, so assuming that this passes, it becomes effective in 30 days?
30 days after passage.
Okay.
And there will be enforcement of this.
Yes, there's
By the,
penalty provisions within the code that require. Yes, enforceable. And the animal control officer, the AOC, is on board and is looking forward to this, being able to use it in his duties as he goes about making sure that the streets are safe.
would there be like a public announcement in newspapers, on Facebook, alerting the residents of Bisbee so they are aware of this? And
I'll let Mr. Hawkins answer.
Typically, the same publication that every ordinance gets, which is, you see it here, there's 2 readings,
And then it's published in the newspaper.
and then
it's published in the newspaper, okay.
And maybe somebody will go home tonight and post it on Facebook, who knows?
We're streaming on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 0-22-10, amending the city code, Article 6, adopting a new section 2.15, dogs at large prohibited, for the purpose of regulating at-large dogs within the city.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 0-22-10. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hill?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Johns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein?
Aye, motion passes. Okay, on to number 4. Okay, we have discussion and possible approval to go into the Board of Appeals for the Building Code with a public hearing to render a decision on the appeal filed by Deborah Hall and Paul Till, property owner of 118 Tombstone Canyon, and discussion and possible approval to come out of the Board of Appeals for the Building Code. Do we have a motion?
I move to go into Board of Appeals session.
Second?
I second.
All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
We are in the public hearing. Okay, now do we need to hear from Mr. Ward first, or?
Yeah, I think it would be good to hear from Mr. Ward first, because I think he's recommending approval of this matter at this point.
Okay.
I think we all remember going over this before, and what they proposed, I think, is very reasonable, and Mr. Mr. Lounsbury did a nice job on the design of the welcome, I think. I recommend it.
Right, it looked good, I looked that over, like a reasonable solution.
Okay. If we're recommending approval, then do we also need to hear from the owners as well, or just go on?
Not necessarily unless they want to say anything, I don't think they do, but,
They just want it over and done
as
with,
long as you
right?
accept the recommendation, I think they're good.
We're just happy it's done.
Just want to save the house.
Okay,
No, there's going to be a motion on the,
I'm coming.
A motion to either uphold, modify the determination.
so it would be a motion to reverse the determination and accept the recommendation to approve, or to overturn the appeal.
Okay. Do we have a motion to what Mr. Estes said?
If they so moved.
Do we have a so moved?
So move.
Second?
Second?
We don't need a roll call on this, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion to reverse the previous decision?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Do we have a motion to come out of the Board of Appeals?
I move to come out of the Board of Appeals session.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor to come out of the Board of Appeals?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're done, right?
For that meeting, we get those meetings through quick.
That was the one I was dreading.
You did good.
Okay, on to number 5. What we have before us is a notice of intent to adopt ordinance 0-22-12, accepting the transfer of real property from Southeast Arizona Renovations LLC, located at 103 D Street. Mr. Pocken.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. This particular property is located in Saginaw, and it represents the 5th single-family dwelling unit that's under renovation in the partnership that we have with Step Up Bisbee NACO and Southeast Arizona Renovations LLC. It's at the point where it is not quite complete yet, but it is substantially so. And so we hope to be able to start getting it out there for sale relatively soon. So in order to do that, of course, we have to own the property, and this is the vehicle by which we will be able to transfer ownership to the city and then be able to move forward with marketing the property, and the staff recommends approval.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much.
No? No questions? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the notice of intent to adopt ordinance O-22-12, accepting the transfer of real property from Southeast Arizona Renovations LLC located at 103 D Street, Bisbee.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 0-22-12. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hill? Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Johns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein?
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, on to number 6. This is to approve adding an additional 1,332 square feet of land to number 1 Cochise Grove. Mr. Logan.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. That's pretty much it. That's one of the workforce housing houses that Steve mentioned, like the last one. We want to increase the curb appeal to it, so we'd just be adding 12 feet of width on one side of it and 111 on the length, so it's going to give it to a 42-foot size lot opposed to 30. So,
Is this the property, if you're coming from DNB, it's the first one on the right hand side?
Correct, right across from the southern distributors there.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
or-
So the addition, where's the addition coming from?
It'll be, it'll be onto the north side of the property. So if you're facing that house, right when you come in there towards it, it'll be on the right side.
Okay.
So we'll just.
But this increase coming from, it's from a private property?
Oh,
It's a
from
city property?
city-owned property, yes.
Okay, and how much will this, will add to the value? I mean, it's just, we just making an assumption here, or we based it on some kind of formula is gonna add to the appeal? I mean, just
It
give me
has
an
to
idea,
do-
so I can see how.
Oh,
how
gotcha.
this
So
decision-
it has to do with the lot location itself.
Okay.
The way that the lot is, if I were to take you over there,
Yeah.
you'd see why we want to add a little bit more land in to the width that way,
Mm-hmm.
just the way the lot's set up more or less. And I looked online with the GIS, it's one of the smallest lots down that whole neighborhood. One of the smallest.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I could add an additional comment, the procedure that we use with the workforce housing program is that once we've established the lot and finished the construction, we go out and get, I'm gonna call it fair market value, there's a fancier name for it now. And we usually get 3 or 4 comparable properties. So, that property will be, judged by against the comparables as it exists with the additional property on it, if you approve that tonight. So, that will be the way they compare it. So, the value hasn't been established yet, but it will be. And the procedure that we use with the workforce housing program is we usually take the lower of the comparable properties value, and then we discount it by 20%.
Okay, this is an existing, let me get this. So this is an existing property that existed before this, and now we took it over to take care of and resell. And then we decided to add more square footage to it, just,
Correct.
okay.
So the lot
So
is,
is this, okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's 30 feet wide by
Mhm.
111
30 feet
long.
wide.
30 feet wide, it's pretty small. Right now, without adding that in, they wouldn't have much of a driveway
Okay,
at this, with the way it's set up.
okay. And this will not have an impact on the area, on the streets, on any?
Only
that may
increasing the
affect-
value possibly.
Technically, there is no next door neighbor to the north,
Okay,
because it's municipally owned property, and you'll notice on your map on the reverse side of the
Yeah.
page there, it is a municipal right-of-way known as Pine Street.
okay,
It will continue to be about close to 20 feet wide, once this is taking place.
this street.
So Pine Street can still be used to access properties to the west.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yep. So here, I got the next one.
So there's a Pine Street there?
Well, that's what the map says, yeah. You've probably never been on it.
Yeah, no, I'm
Well-
ready some clients over there.
And if you look to.
Never heard of it all my life.
And if you look to the southwest, we have a Arnall Avenue.
Yeah. So,
Where do the names come from? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I just thought it was just Cochise Road.
That'd be a great trivia question for you.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I move to approve to add an additional 1,332 square feet of land to number 1 Cochise Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the additional 1332 square feet of land to number 1 Cochise Road. All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Since Logan is still here.
that's right. Yep. Got the next one.
Okay, so what we have before us for agenda item 7 is to approve utility easement on 118 Walsh Avenue with Arizona Public Service. Mr. Dunn.
Yep. So they want to put a new light pole in there. So if you're on Brewery Avenue facing Waltz, it's going to be on the back of that lot on the left side. So it's going to light that whole area up a little bit more. Did it make sense?
That's what I want, another street light.
that's why I looked at you.
Now, you know how I feel about it.
This, I think, would be helpful in that area.
Okay, did we have a request for it?
We did, yeah.
Or maybe yes.
Yep.
But not the neighbors. So,
I can follow up with you and find out, but I believe the request went to APS from people there. Don't quote me, like I said, I can follow up with you on that for sure, but.
If there's concern, this is not a matter of great urgency. It could be, we could do a little more checking and bring it back at the next council meeting.
I was just gonna say that I would like it, would it,
Yeah.
how does everybody else feel?
I agree, yeah.
Do a
I agree with that.
motion to table if we bring it back at the next.
Maybe you can follow up, find out how this started.
Yep, absolutely.
I move to table this.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion to table and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Okay. Let's see, number 8. We have discussion and possible approval of 2 Governor's Office of Highway Safety grant projects, DUI impaired driving enforcement in the amount of $14,500, and another one, Project STEP, in the amount of $19,688 for a total of $34,188. Chief.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein, council members, thank you. These 2 grants are for upcoming fiscal year 2023 to enable the police department to continue our partnership with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. Specifically our DUI and impaired driver enforcement programs and our STEP enforcements, which is specifically targeted enforcement programs such as distracted drivers, seatbelt violations, child seats, aggressive drivers, and violations along those lines. Excuse me. The grants also allow us to participate in statewide task force obligations that we have and to purchase new equipment. With these grants, I requested the purchase of additional radar guns, which we desperately need because ours are a little outdated, and also to purchase a few more portable breath testing devices for our DUI details. This partnership has been great for us. In the last year, we've started participating in it. Our DUI and impaired driving detection and intervention has increased significantly compared to many years before, as has our aggressive driving campaign, especially on Highway 80 and Highway 92, which we've noticed a reduction in speeders and violations out there as well. So that's what we're asking for, that's what it's for.
Question.
Ma'am.
On the DUI details, is that something that we're going to have regular or just for the holidays or
They're-
like for the fairs? that
They're
kind of stuff?
regularly, there's certain DUI details that we must participate in. There's mandatory reporting dates and then mandatory details that we have to participate in. All recognized holidays are details that we have to conduct and participate in, and I have to report numbers and enforcement stats to the governor's office the day after the closing. For example, Labor Day weekend just passed. That detail lasted from the 2nd until the 5th, and I had to report all the numbers this morning before 10 a.m. It also allows for us as a department to conduct our own details for whatever we deem necessary or likely. An example being, I had one out during the Bisbee Douglas game. I plan on having one out there in the Blues Festival, and I plan on having one out there in the stair climb as well. Those aren't necessarily details that the governor's office says we have to do, but it gives us funding in order to do that because it's specific events for our community where the possibility of impaired driving is significant.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Do we have an increase in DUI and impaired driving?
It depends on how you look at it. So we have not, as a department, participated in the GOHS grant program for several years. I picked it up and started running with it last year. So if you look at, for example, 2018 stats for impaired driving. They weren't significant as far as numbers, but if you compare them to the 2022 and 2021 stats, there was a 110% increase, give or take, but that's because we had the tools, equipment necessary to go out and conduct those details and those patrols. And we've also sent a number of our staff to specific training to be able to detect driving patterns and impaired driving.
Any more questions?
Yeah. So this is, first of all, maybe Steve, is this in the budget?
It was budgeted under grants. I
It was
believe.
budgeted, so
Yeah.
this money we have currently, yeah.
True, it's all reimbursements for us, so that's how it works. Last year, I believe our grants were in the $90,000 range. This year, it's a little bit less than that. So.
Less. Okay, so it's budgeted and, yeah.
Yeah, it's typically what we do when we put the budget together, we anticipate this kind of thing.
And that grant has been awarded, that's all. I just want to make sure, okay. The only other question I have, I'm looking at the detailed budget. It says personnel, 8,500, employee-related expenses. Is this above and beyond what we have for personnel, what we budgeted for the police? Are we gonna be given, is this additional money that goes toward these personnels and?
That should have been included in
That was, this would be purchased out of a grant fund as opposed to the general fund.
Okay,
And the radar units go with the vehicles, they don't go with the officer.
with the officer,
Right.
okay. That's good, no, that's all I have.
Everybody good? Do we have a motion?
I just need-
I move to approve two Governor's Office of Highway Safety grants number 2023-AL-008, Project DUI/impaired driving enforcement in the amount of $14,500, and Governor's Office of Highway Safety grant number 2023-PTS-008, Project Step Enforcement in the amount of $19,688, for a total of $34,188.
That's a long one. Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the two Governor's Office of Highway Safety grants. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hill. Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Johns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Podman, you're next.
Yes, ma'am, it'll be very brief because it's 7:27. And I just want to report, and I believe all of you who were with me will echo that the lead conference this year was, I thought, one of the better ones that we've been to, with topics regarding local governments that really matter and are really timely. At least that's what I found. And I know a lot of you we had enough people to visit several different sessions at the same time and get more information out of it because of that. So I'm glad that all of you could join me. I just wish that the mayor and Mrs. Budge appeared to had contact with just one wrong person and are home recuperating tonight, and the rest of us have tested negative. So anyway, best wishes. I know the mayor's watching. He hasn't commented yet. He's probably going to kill me. But anyway, I think it's always a good idea to mention these things publicly, because it's not a party. It's a work session, and it's a 3-day work session. And I think we got a lot of good information out of it. And the Bisbee booth at the Festival of Cities had by far the best stuff out there to auction, from the Queen Mine Tour and a couple of prints of historic Bisbee that were raffled off to people all over the state. And along with Heather doing what she does best, which is promote Bisbee statewide. So that's all I have for tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're adjourned.
It's gonna be a long meeting.